When Judah was collapsing, God gave Jeremiah a mission that carried the full weight of his covenant promise. This is the brief on Jeremiah, preserver of David's royal line. You know Jeremiah, the prophet who warned Judah of destruction in the late 7th and early 6th centuries BC. But his calling wasn't just to speak judgment. God commissioned him to protect his promise to David, that a descendant of David would always sit on the throne over Israel. First, Jeremiah's assignment was staggering. God declared in Jeremiah 1:10, "See, I have this day set thee over the nations and over the kingdoms, to root out and to pull down, and to destroy, and to throw down, to build and to plant." Those nations weren't foreign empires. They were the house of Israel and the house of Judah, God's own divided people. Jeremiah's task was to tear down corruption and faithlessness, but also to build and plant what God would one day restore. But that leads to the question, where did that building and planting actually happen? Second, God's eternal covenant with David hit its darkest moment in 586 BC. The Babylonians destroyed Jerusalem, captured King Zedekiah, slaughtered his sons, and blinded him. The royal line appeared wiped out. The promise of an everlasting throne looked broken. Yet God's promises never fail. Finally, Jeremiah's build and plant mission became literal. Evidence suggests he became guardian to Zedekiah's surviving daughters, the hidden heirs of David's royal line. Through them, Jeremiah carried forward the covenant God had sworn to David. He didn't just proclaim restoration, he planted it, ensuring the royal seed endured. The book of Jeremiah isn't just a record of judgment. It's the story of how God preserved his promise when all seemed lost. Watch now how the Lord resolved this.
Today, we're jumping into, well, frankly, an almost unbelievable historical claim.
It's definitely out there.
The idea that the biblical prophet Jeremiah didn't actually die in Egypt, but personally packed up the throne of King David from Jerusalem after it fell.
Right.
And transplanted it to ancient Ireland. And that this act, founded the royal line that eventually leads to the current British monarchy.
It sounds like pure fantasy, doesn't it? But the source material we've looked at argues pretty strongly that this mix of prophecy, Irish mythology, and royal genealogy isn't just some quaint legend.
They're saying it's actual history, hidden history.
That's the argument. So our mission today is really specific. We need to push past the, let's say, the vague references you often hear. Oh, the Irish annals say. We want to see if the researchers have actually found concrete, non-vague evidence for Jeremiah being there.
Like a name, a description.
Exactly. We're hunting for his surprising hidden identity in those records.
Okay, that sounds like a proper deep dive.
Sure.
And just to set the scene, we're talking about events kicking off right after Jerusalem falls to Nebuchadnezzar, so around 586 BCE.
Precisely. That moment is seen as the trigger, the start of this almost secret operation to carry the scepter of Judah way out west.
So, okay, let's lay out the traditional story first, because it's quite dramatic in itself.
It is.
The core idea is, after the conquest, Jeremiah, who prophecy apparently marked as a protector of the royal line, somehow escapes with his scribe, Baruch.
His faithful scribe, yeah.
And crucially, with King Zedekiah's daughters. The last survivors of David's royal house.
And their first stop isn't Ireland, it's Egypt, specifically Tapenes, which lines up with the Bible.
Right.
But the sources say they didn't stay long. They managed to get passage on a ship, headed out into the Med, and eventually somehow landed in Ireland. Maybe late 583, early 582 BCE.
That's quite a journey across pretty much the known world back then.
It's a desperate one, you have to imagine.
And this voyage ends with a major political move.
Yeah.
Establishing a new dynasty. One of Zedekiah's daughters, an Eastern princess they call her, from the Pharez line.
Which is the key Davidic line, yes.
She marries the High King of Ireland, Eotide the Heremon, And boom, new royal line established, centered at Tara in County Meath.
And it wasn't just political. The story goes that Jeremiah himself, this, respected elderly prophet, probably in his 70s or even 80s by then.
Wow, really that old?
Yeah, he's credited with setting up a kind of school of the prophets or a ministerial college right there at Tara, giving the whole enterprise a spiritual foundation.
And they didn't come empty-handed. They brought something legendary, an object still making headlines today, in a way.
You mean the Stone of Destiny?
Exactly. The Stone of Scone, the Coronation Stone.
The sources are adamant this is the stone Jacob used as a pillow at Bethel. Genesis 28. It's the physical link, the anchor tying David's line all the way to the present day.
And this stone, it travels with the monarchy, right? Ireland and Scotland?
In England, yeah. It forms the base of the coronation chair. Every monarch, including Queen Elizabeth II, was crowned sitting over this supposed relic from Jacob.
It provides this unbroken physical chain. Okay, but here's the snag, the problem that always comes up.
The proof problem.
Yeah. Traditional researchers looking into this often cite things like the Chronicles of Erie, the Annals of the Four Masters, Clonmacnoise, but they never seem to find a clear sentence saying, Jeremiah the prophet landed here today.
Exactly. That vagueness is the issue. It's fueled skepticism for, centuries. If he did all this, founded a school, transplanted a throne, why isn't his famous name there?
Which leads us straight to the core argument, the real breakthrough claimed in the sources we read.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The argument is Jeremiah is mentioned, clearly, but he's under a different name, a kind of alias or maybe an Irish rendering of his identity.
Okay.
He's known in the Irish annals as Ire Benel the prophet, sometimes also as Caiai, which seems to mean something like the eloquent or the just.
Wait, hang on. The whole thing hinges on Ire Benel being Jeremiah. That feels like a bit of a leap, doesn't it? What makes the researchers so sure it's not just, a coincidence? They call it a fact of history.
It's not just the prophet title, though that's significant. It's the sheer number of matching details in Ire Benel's profile that line up perfectly with Jeremiah around 592 BCE.
Okay, lay them out for me.
Well, first, origin. Both were Hebrew prophets, specifically from Judea. Jeremiah from Anathoth, right?
Uh-huh.
Ire Benel is also said to come from Judea, and crucially, Ire Benel is linked to a school founded in Egypt after the Tower of Tapanis was abandoned.
Tapanis, that's the exact place Jeremiah fled to right before he supposedly left for Ireland.
The exact place mentioned in the book of Jeremiah. The timing and location fit perfectly.
Okay, that's pretty specific. What about the description?
Ire Benel is called eloquent and just fitting for Jeremiah. He's also called a gray hero, which strongly suggests old age. Again, Jeremiah would have been 70 or 80.
The elderly prophet.
Right, and he's described as mighty of spells, which in that context probably means a miracle worker, a true prophet distinct from ordinary men.
Okay, the profile's definitely lining up. What about the name itself? Ire Benel.
This is where the linguistics come in. If you look at Ire Benel using basic Hebrew, the researchers argue the meaning is striking.
Okay, let's break it down.
So IRR is proposed as a short form or maybe a transliteration of Yirmeyahu, which is Hebrew for Jeremiah.
Yirmeyahu. Yirmeyahu. Okay, I can sort of see that.
Ben is pretty straightforward. It's the Hebrew Ben, meaning son of.
Right.
And El is the standard Hebrew word for God.
So Ire Benel, Jeremiah, son of God. That sounds potentially problematic.
But the sources are very clear. It doesn't mean divine sonship, like, in the Christian sense. It's more like Jeremiah, the one of God, signifying someone set apart, ordained by divine authority.
Like how God tells Jeremiah in the Bible, before you were born, I sanctified you.
Exactly that. Jeremiah 1.5. I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. He was a sanctified one, acting as God's agent.
And sanctified connects to something else, doesn't it? His genealogy in the Irish records.
Yes. Ire Benel is listed as a descendant of someone called Nemed or Nimha, and the researchers draw a direct line philologically between Nimha and the Irish word nam, meaning saint or sanctified one.
So that ties Ire Benel, the prophet figure, back to the idea of being specially set apart, maybe even linking to the priestly line of Aaron.
Precisely. It suggests he brought both the spiritual authority, priestly connection, and the political mission, escorting the royal line of Phares.
And his scribe, Baruch. Does he show up?
Apparently, yes. Baruch's name is thought to appear in the genealogies, too, as a descendant named Brek.
Wow. Okay, so when you stack it all up, the timing, the specific location linked to Tapanes, the description matching an old prophet, the linguistic breakdown of Arbonel, the scribe's name, the sanctified connection.
The argument that Arbonel is Jeremiah starts to look pretty compelling, harder to dismiss as just coincidence.
Okay, assuming Arbonel is Jeremiah, let's focus on the political masterstroke again. That marriage in Tara. It wasn't just about finding any old king, was it? It was about fixing something ancient.
Absolutely. It was about reuniting Judah's royal family, which had this ancient split right at its origin. We have to go back to Judah's twin sons, Pharez and Zerah.
Refresh my memory on that one quickly. Genesis 38. Right?
Yeah, dramatic story. Zerah puts his hand out first, gets a scarlet thread tied on it, looks like he's claiming the birthright, the scepter. But then Pharez, his brother, actually breaks through first.
So Pharez gets the main royal line, the one leading to David and Zedekiah. But Zara, he still has this sort of symbolic claim with the red thread.
Exactly. Pharez held the active kingship. Now, the princess Jeremiah brought was from that Pharez line, the one whose throne had just been destroyed in Jerusalem.
Okay.
The Irish prince she married, Yoshide, was traditionally held to be a descendant of the other twin, Zara.
Ah, so the marriage brings the two lines back together.
Precisely. The prophet arranges the marriage that unites Pharez and Zara, ensuring Judah's royal scepter does continue, just as God promised. The Davidic throne gets a reboot, basically, but way out west in Ireland.
That successful move just screams prophecy fulfillment. It makes me think of Ezekiel, wasn't it? God saying Zedekiah's throne would be overturned 3 times?
Yes, Ezekiel 21, verses 25 to 27, absolutely central here. God says the crown will be overturned until he come whose right it is. The claim is Jeremiah was God's agent for those overturns.
Let's trace that. Overturn 1. The throne itself, carried by Jeremiah, leaves Jerusalem, goes to Ireland. Huge shift.
Massive. Overturn 2. Centuries later, the royal seat and the stone moves from Ireland across to Scotland.
Right.
And overturn 3. King Edward I of England marches north, grabs the stone in 1296, and brings it down to London.
Where the throne and the stone beneath it still is.
Yeah.
Occupied by the British monarchy today, who, if this is right, trace their line back to that wedding in Tara. That's quite a 2,500-year plan.
It really is. And Jeremiah's legacy in Ireland wasn't just the throne. The sources credit him with other things, too.
Like what?
Establishing the 5 cities of refuge, for one. The claim is they're remembered today in the tradition of the Irish fairs.
Huh. Interesting. And didn't you mention something about his death?
Yes. Uniquely, Ireland claims to be the place where Jeremiah is actually buried, which would certainly explain his permanent presence there, and maybe why Jeremy has been such a common name in Ireland for so long.
Okay, so while Jeremiah, or Ira Banel, is pulling off this incredible secret mission in the West, we need to quickly remember what was happening to most other Jewish people at that exact moment.
Yeah, it's crucial context. Jeremiah's escape was the exception. Back in Egypt, things went south, just as he'd prophesied. Pharaoh Apries got overthrown.
And Nebuchadnezzar saw his chance.
Exactly. He swept in, fulfilled the prophecy about conquering Egypt easily like putting on a coat, Jeremiah said. And with that, most of the Jews who had fled to Egypt...
Got captured again.
Captured again, yeah. Marched off to Babylon along with lots of Egyptians.
So, a dramatic contrast. The royal scepter line is preserved in freedom in the West, but the bulk of the nation, the main population, ends up in captivity in Babylon.
Under strict Babylonian control. But even there, God's plan was working.
Because among those captives taken to Babylon were some very famous figures who represent the other side of the promise to Israel. Not the scepter, but maybe the wisdom and faith.
Absolutely. Daniel and his 3 friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Brilliant young men, chosen for assimilation into Babylonian culture.
3 years of intense training, right? And they immediately changed their names.
Yep. Strip away the Hebrew names, talking about bride power. Daniel becomes Belteshazzar. The others become Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Pagan names.
But they resisted the cultural pressure in a really specific way, the famous diet test.
Right. They refused the king's rich food and wine, probably included unclean meats, definitely went against their laws. They asked for just simple vegetables, grains, and water.
Basically saying, our way will make us healthier and smarter.
And they proved it. After just 10 days, they looked better and were found to be sharper than all the other trainees who ate the king's food. Adherence to faith made them superior, physically and mentally.
And Daniel got something extra, didn't he?
Yeah, the sources emphasize God gave Daniel special wisdom, particularly in interpreting dreams and visions. This gift set him and his friends apart as the most intelligent, most learned figures in the whole empire.
So you have this incredible split screen. Daniel and his friends preserving faith and wisdom in the heart of the pagan empire in the East.
While Jeremiah, the gray hero, Ayurbanel, is safeguarding the physical royal line thousands of miles away in the west. Both parts of the plan operating at the same time under prophetic guidance.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this up, the core finding of this deep dive, based on the sources, is really this identification. Ayurbanel, the prophet, coming from Judea via Tapanis, setting up shop in Tara.
Is Jeremiah?
And this wasn't just some random migration. It was a planned move to ensure the Davidic line continued, just as prophecy said it would, by reuniting those ancient Phares and Zara lines.
Leading directly through Scotland and England to the British monarchy we see today, it's a connection hidden in plain sight, unlocked by looking past the familiar name.
It really is an amazing piece of historical detective work, moving beyond folklore to specific linguistic and genealogical clues.
And, the source material ends on a thought-provoking note. It suggests this knowledge about Jeremiah and Ireland was part of a bigger divine purpose for Israel, something unfolding daily but maybe not obvious,
Right.
Which makes you wonder, if key figures can be hidden under different names like Ireban, and if we consider all those other groups mentioned in Irish history, the Medians, Furbolgs, Danians, Milesians, who some sources claim were also Hebrew peoples, what other massive parts of history, what other lost stories might still be sitting there, hidden in plain sight, waiting for us to find the right key, the right connection, maybe by looking for the profile instead of just the expected name, something for you, the listener, to think about.
When you step back and see it all, the story feels almost unbelievable, yet every thread connects. Within just 5 years of Jeremiah's departure from Egypt, the records of ancient Ireland tell of a gray-bearded prophet arriving with a royal eastern princess, a sacred stone, and his faithful scribe, Simon Breck, the very same man once known as Baruch. Together, they carried not just relics, but the living flame of a divine covenant. That stone, the Stone of Destiny, still rests beneath the coronation chair of Britain's monarchs. It's the silent witness of a mission completed, a throne preserved. Jeremiah didn't only warn of destruction, he fulfilled God's command to build and to plant, protecting the Davidic line when all seemed lost. In Ireland, that promise took root, a royal seed replanted, so the throne of David would never fail. And the echoes remain. The name Jeremy still lingers across Ireland, a quiet tribute to the prophet who carried God's promise westward. This isn't just history, it's destiny. From Jerusalem to Tara, from Egypt's dust to London's crown, the covenant continued, unbroken. The story of Jeremiah proves one truth above all. When God makes a promise, He keeps it, no matter how many empires fall.